Hello, I'm Emmanuel Bach. I'm back with the 2-minute masterclass, and today it's Brahms Sonata No.1 in G, first movement. This movement is so rich in musical motivic ideas and harmonic material and development. There's really a lot to consider, and we need to be thinking all the time about the meaning within not only each phrase but also the structure of the movement as a whole. Yet at the beginning there are a few very vital elements that we really need to bear in mind. The first of which is the tempo marking, vivace ma non troppo, so lively but not too much. And then the dynamic and character details that are set up at the start. So the violin part is marked piano mezzo voce, so a special kind of quality of sound, not too loud, and responds off these piano chords which set up this sense of motion. Now importantly, there are dots on the main theme which is presented in the violin here. And those dots really, as well as the rest, give the music a sense of lift, which is totally in keeping with the piano chords, and it gives this sense of optimism, a sense of freshness. Brahms wrote this sonata over summer months of 2 years in 1878 and 1879 while he was in Pertschach, which is a wonderfully beautiful place in the Austrian countryside with mountains and water, and I really think this movement embodies the sense of space and openness that that countryside reflects, and we can hear it throughout a lot of the movement. There's this kind of openness, a freshness, a grandeur. There are other emotions as well, but at the beginning we really need to establish not only this sense of lift, but also a singing quality. So the sound needs to sing as well as be lifted with the bow. So we need to find this sense of lift in these notes. We also need to pay attention, crucially, to note lengths. Now I've mentioned the dots on those notes, but we also need to ensure that this long note here, while being singing and long enough, doesn't intrude into the rests, so that we keep this sense that we breathed just after presenting the very first idea, and that gives a very refreshing feel to the movement. Think of the Spring Sonata, for instance, by Beethoven, where we have a very long, uninterrupted melodic line. It's very different to that in terms of the very beginning. What happens just afterwards is a little bit more traditional. We have these breaths again, but then we have a little bit later this. So we have already something very lyrical, and there we need to just follow the shape that we make over the strings. The next one here, we need to go with that hairpin because it gives a different harmonic feeling and a different meaning consequently. And that's very, very important. This sense of the music always going somewhere gives it the sense of a journey. In the second subject, we have different material again, and we need to find different meaning for this second subject and a different idea of the sound. And here we can afford to cling more continuously to the string. So it's very lyrical, very legato as well, and we really need to bring that legato feeling out of the music. Although it's only piano initially, like the beginning, we need to find something very lyrical. Notice the way I use some slides, that brings out a more vocal quality to the music. It's also marked con anima, which means with soul. So there's a very special quality to all of this music we've heard so far. There's something very tender at the start, and then with a lot of hope in the second subject. Another aspect is paying attention to when the theme from the very beginning is presented without dots, and we can think about that here. So there, those notes don't have dots on them, and it gives a different feeling, and we need to convey that, of course, in our sound. It's marked piano dolce, so I think it's somehow even more tender than the beginning. It's a little less lifted in that sense. Elsewhere, there are very dramatic moments, and that's where the piano part really brings a different feeling to what the violin part plays, particularly here. And that's a very, very dramatic point where the violin almost creates an outburst, and the piano has these very dramatic chords. So there's a lot of drama and a sense of struggle at the heart of the sonata, yet we return to this radiance and joy later on. There's a sense of almost transcendent calm here. And then just afterwards we build up the energy again and end on a very, very high note here. And there we can really be radiant in our energy and joy, which is so essential to this movement. That's all for today.